Hey folks, welcome to this week's blog entry. I'm trying something new with video here. I'm hoping that it will be able to get a bit more information and something that takes you a bit less time to get through. I wanted to address this week the issue of flexibility in a muscle. And specifically flexibility, why it's important, and what makes it different from mobility. When we are talking about flexibility of a muscle, we're talking about its resting length. And I've made this handy-dandy visual aid out of my resistance band here. If we're looking at a muscle that's resting at an entirely shortened length, it crosses over a joint somewhere through here. And if it doesn't want to move, if it doesn't want to get any longer than this, then it's going to mean that that joint's not really able to open up, not really able to go through its full range of motion, because the muscle's going to say, nah, I don't really want to go there. If we're looking at a muscle that's living in an overstretched position, well, yeah, sure, it's going to be easy for that joint to go through a full range of motion, but then you're going to lose power because the body's going to see there's already a lot of tension on this muscle. If we put more tension on it by lifting something heavy, then we stand a greater chance of injury. So the body's just not going to want to fire it. If we're somewhere in the middle here, we get a good snap, a good bit of force out of it, and we're also going to get, because it's at a greater length, we're going to get increased joint mobility. We're built so that we don't need to be in a really long muscular position to have full range of motion through a joint. We can get our full range of motion somewhere in the middle. That's what we want to aim for. It's the right balance of mobility, flexibility and mobility in that joint, as well as power in terms of your muscle. So this is what we want to aim for in terms of our muscular length and our flexibility. How does this relate to joint mobility? Joint mobility, taking the shoulder for instance, we're looking at, there's a joint capsule that sort of holds in all the stuff in the joint, sort of deep to it. And it keeps in fluid to lubricate the joint, ligaments and cartilage and stuff that hold that joint together structurally. And those things have to be able to move some as our muscles move that joint through its range of motion. So as I'm doing this, I'm engaging my muscles to make the movement happen, but that joint capsule and everything inside it need to be able to sort of move freely as the muscle moves it all around one another. If those things get damaged or get dried out and stuck to one another, then they're going to not quite glide across one another in the proper way. A lot of times they just get stuck to one another, and you just sort of need to clear it up. And if you have an inhibition in there, if something's inhibiting that range of motion, then it doesn't really matter what your muscular flexibility is. And this is where I think it's important to know the difference between the two so that you can identify, well, do I need to stretch this or do I need to work on the joint capsule here? If you're looking at a flexibility issue, let's say we're looking at the pec and this full range of motion in the shoulder here, where I'm moving my elbow up and down and forward and backwards circularly. If I'm coming back and I'm feeling like I'm sort of stuck through here, it's just tight through the chest, we know that tight feeling, then we're probably looking at an issue of needing to increase my flexibility, needing to stretch this pec muscle, and some of these other muscles that are in the front, but let's just focus on the pec, to create more space for that elbow to come further back. Now, let's say I get back here and there's something else gumming me up in the joint here, and maybe it's clicking, maybe it just feels jammed up, maybe it just stops, and I don't really feel anything, but it just stops, and no pain, no real sensation, just doesn't go. Then maybe we're looking at a joint capsule issue. And most of the time the things that we can do to help open up those joint capsules are to, as gently and perhaps even passively as possible, open up these shoulders, like take it through the range of motion to open up those structures inside that joint capsule. And then we may find that we've opened up some of that joint capsule and, oh, well, now I'm feeling my limitation through the chest, and now I need to create some flexibility in this muscle, and I need to stretch this muscle. Either one can inhibit your range of motion in a joint. Maximum range of motion in a joint means less opportunity for injury, greater opportunity for power, strength as you move through life, move through your workouts, whatever it is you choose to do in your day-to-day life. I'm also going to post here a hip mobility sequence made by my friend Mario at CrossFit on the Square. Check that out. It's a good idea of what you can do to help create some increased mobility in your hips. You can also look forward to in the future from me some stretching sequences, some stretching opportunities for hip moving muscles so that we can really help you get those hips nice and open and move. Remember, just like I said in my Solid Foundations post, everything from the hip up really relies on good hip alignment. Full range of motion of the joints is going to allow your hips to fall into proper alignment. Let everything stack properly on top of that. You're going to be a much happier camper. Talk to you soon.